You ever watch a movie based on a true story and think, yeah, right, Hollywood loves to add drama where it doesn't exist, but every now and then, a film comes along that's so accurate, historians actually nod in approval. Today, we're diving into the most historically accurate movies ever made. From NASA's near disaster in space to one man's unthinkable mission during the Holocaust, these films didn't just entertain us, they brought real history to life with jaw-dropping precision. So grab your popcorn, because this isn't your average movie list. This is history done right. Schindler's List, 1993. Let's start with one of the heaviest hitters of all time. Schindler's List. Steven Spielberg's masterpiece isn't just one of the greatest films ever made. It's one of the most faithful depictions of the Holocaust on screen. Every detail, from the real locations in Krakow to the haunting black and white cinematography, was chosen for authenticity. Spielberg even filmed many scenes at the actual Plaszow concentration camp and used survivors as consultants during production. Liam Neeson's portrayal of Oskar Schindler mirrors the real man's transformation, from a businessman profiting off war to someone risking everything to save over 1,100 Jews. Survivors who knew Schindler said Neeson's mannerisms, his calm yet conflicted energy, were eerily close to the real person. Even the infamous "girl in the red coat" was inspired by survivor testimonies. Spielberg used that single burst of color as a symbol, not a flourish. It's hard to find a film that captures the weight of history quite like this one. Apollo 13, 1995. Now, from Earth's darkest days to the cold silence of space, Apollo 13 is easily one of the most accurate space movies ever made. Director Ron Howard and NASA teamed up to make sure every single moment looked and felt real. The actors, including Tom Hanks, Kevin Bacon, and Bill Paxton, even trained in NASA's zero-gravity simulator to film scenes in actual weightlessness. That's right, no CGI tricks here. Every piece of dialogue, every switch flipped, came straight from mission transcripts and recordings. When Tom Hanks says, "Houston, we have a problem," that line came from the real transmission, almost word for word. NASA engineers who watched the movie said it felt like reliving the real crisis. That's how precise it was. It's one of those films that doesn't need to exaggerate. The truth was already thrilling enough. Saving Private Ryan, 1998. You can't talk about realism without mentioning Saving Private Ryan. That opening D-Day sequence? It's practically a documentary. Spielberg, again, recreated the Omaha beach landing using actual accounts from World War II veterans. The actors were put through brutal boot camps, real explosions went off around them, and Spielberg used handheld cameras to mimic what soldiers saw running up the beach. Veterans who fought on D-Day said watching it felt like being back there. One even said, "I had to walk out halfway through." That's how visceral it was. Even the sound design, the whine of bullets, the muffled underwater chaos, was engineered to match recordings from the real invasion. While the story of Private Ryan himself is fictional, the world he's in is frighteningly accurate, down to the mud, the exhaustion, and the confusion that defined D-Day. Zodiac, 2007. Next up, let's shift gears from war to one of America's most chilling true crime mysteries, the Zodiac Killer. David Fincher's Zodiac isn't your typical Hollywood thriller. It's methodical, quiet, and unnervingly precise. Fincher used thousands of police reports, newspaper articles, and first-hand interviews to recreate the timeline exactly as it happened. He even recreated the murder scenes based on official police sketches and survivor testimony. Every car, every location, even the victim's clothing was matched. And because no one ever caught the Zodiac Killer, Fincher refused to invent an ending. The movie ends where real life did, with more questions than answers. Jake Gyllenhaal, Robert Downey Jr., and Mark Ruffalo didn't just play characters. They played real people involved in the investigation, many of whom consulted on set. It's one of those rare films where the accuracy is the suspense. Spotlight, 2015. If you want to see accuracy turned into emotional storytelling, Spotlight is the gold standard. Based on the Boston Globe's investigation into the Catholic Church's abuse scandal, Spotlight nails every detail. The look of the newsroom, the language of journalism, and even the personalities of the reporters themselves. Director Tom McCarthy had the actual reporters, like Walter Robbie Robinson and Mike Resendez, work directly with the cast. Mark Ruffalo, Michael Keaton, and Rachel McAdams didn't just memorize lines, they shadowed the people they were portraying. When the real journalists saw the finished film, they said it was like watching themselves back in 2001. No dramatization, no exaggeration, just pure truth, delivered with quiet precision. And the result? A movie that not only won Best Picture but also showed how truth can be as powerful as any special effect. 12 Years a Slave, 2013. Few films hit as hard or feel as authentic as 12 Years a Slave. Based on Solomon Northup's real-life memoir from 1853, the movie doesn't shy away from showing exactly how brutal slavery was. Director Steve McQueen made sure every detail, from the dialects to the tools used on plantations, came straight from historical records. Chiwetel Ejiofor's performance as Solomon feels heartbreakingly real, and that's because the film uses large chunks of Solomon's own words from his memoir. Historians praised it for refusing to Hollywoodize slavery. No soft edges, no heroic gloss, just raw, unfiltered truth. Even the songs the enslaved people sang were authentic to that region and time. It's not an easy watch, but that's the point. 12 Years a Slave reminds us that real history isn't meant to be comfortable. It's meant to be remembered. The Social Network, 2010. Okay, here's one that might surprise you. The Social Network. Yeah, the Facebook movie. You wouldn't think of it as historically accurate, but it actually gets most of the details right. While some dialogue is dramatized, the timeline of events, Mark Zuckerberg's coding spree at Harvard, the Winklevoss lawsuit, and Facebook's explosive growth, all match real documented history. Aaron Sorkin's fast-talking script is based on Ben Mesrich's book, The Accidental Billionaires. But director David Fincher cross-checked everything with Harvard students and early Facebook insiders. And the result? A film that captures the early 2000s tech boom with eerie precision. The awkward dorm room energy, the ambition, the ego, and the chaos that built one of the world's biggest platforms. Sure, Zuckerberg says not everything is true, but when he himself admits it's pretty close, you know the filmmakers did their homework. United 93, 2006. Now, few films treat real tragedy with more care and accuracy than United 93. Paul Greengrass directed this movie about the hijacked flight on September 11, 2001, and his approach was unlike any other. He used real FAA audio, cockpit recordings, and official government documents to reconstruct what happened minute by minute. Many of the air traffic controllers in the movie aren't actors. They're the actual people from that day, replaying their real experiences. There's no score, no big Hollywood names, no fake heroism. Just a deeply human, documentary-style retelling that's almost unbearably real. When families of the passengers saw it, many said it was the first time they could truly understand what happened on board. That's how powerful and accurate it was. The King's Speech, 2010. On a lighter but still deeply historical note, The King's Speech captures the life of King George VI with almost documentary-level detail. Colin Firth's stammering, nervous energy was developed after hours of studying recordings of the real King's speeches. The film even gets the therapy sessions right. Lionel Logue's notes from those meetings were used to write the dialogue. The set design, costumes, and even the microphones were modeled after the originals from the BBC archives. Historians said the accuracy of the period details, especially around the royal family's relationships and the looming shadow of World War II, was spot on. It's proof that even royal dramas can keep things real when they put in the research. Lincoln, 2012. When it comes to historical accuracy, Lincoln might be in a league of its own. Steven Spielberg and Daniel Day-Lewis didn't just make a movie. They practically resurrected Abraham Lincoln himself. Daniel Day-Lewis spent an entire year researching Lincoln's life before filming. He studied his letters, his speeches, even accounts of how he walked and spoke. Historians praised his portrayal for capturing Lincoln's humor, melancholy, and quiet intensity, exactly as described by his contemporaries. The film focuses on the final months of Lincoln's life, especially his fight to pass the 13th Amendment abolishing slavery. And every scene, from the congressional debates to the candlelit rooms, is based on actual records and diaries. Even the way Lincoln's office looked, the papers, the ink bottles, the furniture, was recreated using photographs from the 1860s. When historians call a Hollywood biopic meticulous, you know it's something special.
Arise on this sad and solemn day.
The Pianist, 2002. And finally, one of the most hauntingly accurate portrayals of survival in World War II, The Pianist. Directed by Roman Polanski, who himself survived the Krakow ghetto as a child, this film tells the true story of Władysław Szpilman, a Polish-Jewish pianist who lived through the Nazi occupation of Warsaw. Adrian Brody didn't just act the part, he lived it. He lost over 30 pounds, learned to play Chopin perfectly, and even gave up his apartment and phone to understand Szpilman's isolation. The film's accuracy comes straight from Szpilman's own memoir and Polanski's personal memories of wartime Poland. The sets, the crumbling streets, the ghetto walls, the desperate silence, were built using photographs and survivor testimonies. Historians, survivors, and even Szpilman's family called it one of the truest depictions of the Holocaust ever put on film. It's raw, devastating, and unforgettable, and not a single detail feels false. So there you have it. From space missions and newsroom battles to royal struggles and unimaginable courage, these films prove that truth really is stranger, and often stronger, than fiction. Each of them reminds us that when filmmakers respect the facts, the result isn't boring, it's powerful. Because real history doesn't need rewriting, it just needs to be told right. But now I want to hear from you. Which of these movies do you think nailed the accuracy the best? Or did we miss one that deserves a spot on this list? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and if you love movies that tell real stories the right way, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell. Because we've got plenty more cinematic deep dives coming your way.